How to fill cracks in wood and colour match. Colour matching can be very difficult with light colour woods. So on this occasion I've decided to colour match the sap dark streak on the left hand side. I originally tried fixing this crack about a year ago using standard wood filler. I didn't like the result, the colour didn't match and the crack kept on expanding. I start off by using 80 grit sandpaper and a knife blade to remove any of the old filler from the interior of the crack. So I made some research, and one of the best methods now available is to use cast resin, and to try and colour match it I'm going to be using some pigments which are very easy to find. Here I'm using some kids plasticine, which is to be placed on the interior side of the crack, which will stop the resin pouring through. Now I'm sealing the underside and the vertical part of the crack using transparent parcel tape. Commercial pigments aren't required when colouring the resin. Here are a few household solutions: chalk, fabric paint, or food colouring. I've added the catalyzer to the resin, and now for a good mix. Now I'm adding some brown fabric paint, which needs to be stirred in thoroughly. 4 drops of red food colouring, and 4 drops of yellow food colouring. Again, we need to stir thoroughly. I added a bit more brown fabric paint as the resin didn't seem dark enough. To avoid any air bubbles, we're going to slowly pour the resin into the crack. Now for the last bit of resin. I actually overfilled the crack and needed to do a bit of cleanup. We need to leave the resin to cure for 6 hours, then we can remove the tape. Then after that, we're going to leave the resin to cure fully for 24 hours. So now it's the following day. We need to start sanding. We're going to use 80 grit sandpaper to get rid of all the high spots. The hand sanding took longer than I thought, and in retrospect maybe I should have used my orbital sander. A quick cleanup with a damp cloth and let it dry. Now on to the second phase of sanding using 120 grit sandpaper. And finally on to the last step of sanding using 220 grit sandpaper. A final cleanup and leave it to dry. Now I'm going to be applying 3 to 5 coats of polyurethane. Each coat needs around 3 to 4 hours to dry, and after it's dried you need to sand back with 220 grit sandpaper. I've diluted the polyurethane using mineral spirits at a ratio of 5 to 1. By doing this I'm able to wipe on the poly instead of using a brush. Polyurethane should be applied in thin coats, so make sure to wipe off any excess. Now I'm leaving the polyurethane to dry for 3 hours. The polyurethane now needs to be cut back with 220 sandpaper. So I repeat the process of applying polyurethane and cutting it back with 220 sandpaper 3 times. So now I'm finally on the 5th and final coat of polyurethane. This final coat doesn't need to be cut back with sandpaper once it's dried. So there you have it. I believe this cast resin fix is far superior for its strength, durability. It bonds far better to the wood compared to standard wood fillers and should last for a long time. If you have any opinions or comments, then please put them below. Thanks for watching.